Action!
Could we talk a little bit about your relationship with VFX as well? Because was that time-based arts, that one?
Yeah, that was time-based arts. Hornbach was time-based arts. Finish was time-based. Yeah, I learned my kind of, the fluency I have now with VFX is really all down to my relationship with them. On Hornbach, we went in and met and Anorak encouraged that relationship. We went to London and we met them and went through it, and we're with the post that is in there, and they were so generous with their time and explaining things, and that's where I learned about, even though it's a lot of posts, you do as much in camera as you possible. You do plates, you shoot lots of reference plates, and all of that adds to
the reality
of it, and embedding everything in with each other, even if at the end you don't necessarily use stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of that I learned. I mean, that was like so much on just on the Hornbach job, and then with Finish, that was a whole other level of the amount of stuff going on there and doing as much in camera as possible and mixing it. Yeah.
Did you have little models built for the glove expanding at the end? Was that?
No, that's all VFX.
That's all VFX, is it? Because it's pretty good. It's pretty seamless.
Yeah.
One of the things I love, I totally agree with this, by the way, is when you're a good VFX house, is they try and talk you into doing most of it in camera. They try and talk themselves out of a job, in essence.
Yeah, that's the running joke.
Yeah, it's because it's like...
No, you don't want to bid for the CG.
Yeah, they don't want to do it because they know that you can get it better in camera. It's become way more textured and believable. Moving on now to some of your later work, some of the bigger projects, the Pixel 2 ad. For me, that was just kind of joyful seeing all your shorthand work really well in the sort of pace and communication and the comedy and the punctuation of the comedy and the sort of the way that camera works with all of that. I just thought was, that for me was like you really taking flight as a filmmaker. Do you have anything you want to add?
I mean, that one, amazing. Creative again, like the scripts, that was their concept of asking questions about the product. I mean, it was like pretty ingenious it's like it shouldn't be that good, like, oh, does it do this, does it do this? You're like, it's literally just a product, a features list, but they had this concept of the question thing, and it was all about getting the, like, then when do they look at the camera, when do they don't, and working all this. It was a really fun project, but what was crazy was seeing how we still have we've got an email thread going still to this day, where we send each other commercials that we've seen that are basically doing
copy that.
Some of them are literally the same lines. Some of there's like a few that got the same music as well, the same opening shot, the same music. So it was like it was pretty crazy. It did, it did really well.
It's a perfect idea in a way, integrating the features of to make that the actual ad.
Yeah, that was why it ended up
kind of script.
Yeah, that's why there was like these different products were like, oh, we can use that concept, and just telling the guys they should have sold the concept around.
So moving on from that, the night campaigns. So I loved the piggyback. It just really made me laugh. I love the one pithy line in each of the scripts. Just really cracks me up every time, like the woman saying, "Oh, look, a snail," at the end. I just thought this so brilliant. The comedy of that, and every way the whole world came together. And when the guy's in the air, and his face moving around, just the whole humour I thought worked really, really well. But going back to the time-based arts, your relationship of doing things in camera. Like when you came up with the idea of him turning into a snail, and then you see the head kind of going in was that kind of like, could you talk us through the elements that were kind of the in-camera elements of that? Because I'm assuming that you try to get as much in camera with that as possible.
Yeah, so that was a funny project as well. That was the creators are like amazing, Tom and Tom. And they had this, I don't know how they sold in this crazy idea. And then, you know, in camera was partly, you know, didn't have a huge post-production budget. The timeline was insane.
So that was, as you mentioned, that was time-based art. So did that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the elements were in camera, and it was just the antennas for the snail.
Yeah.
Was there any prosthetics built, or was that all?
No, that's all
CG.
Yeah. We didn't try and do any kind of
Yeah.
Yeah. And they just had the eyes go in and
yeah. But I loved the way he disappears into the snail. I thought that was really beautiful, the way you did that.
I was really unhappy with that. And that was Ben Fordsman.
Right.
Ben Fordsman shot all those. And I was quite frustrated. We had hardly any time.
Yeah.
2 days, all the 3 of them were shot in 2 days. And I was really frustrated with how, like, him going into the coat and stuff, it wasn't quite how I wanted it to, but it was just funny in the end. Like the way it cracked up, I wanted it to be a bit more. Yeah. But in the end, look,
but it's all part of the charm of it in the end, isn't it?
In the end, it was all great. Yeah.
So that shot going underneath the foot at the end when you had the rubber. Yeah. So that was that CG? How did you? That's
CG. Yeah.
That's all CG.
Well, there's CG takeover.
Yeah. Because he goes to the camera. Goes
the whole thing was this. There was this huge pressure from the beginning of seeing the shoe in a way that would be like amazing. And it was like, okay, what happens? Do we, like, when it lands, do we like cut to another world, or does we have like, does it change between all the shoes and and then we just came up with this like just moment where you're just seeing it really slowly and it's real, and then we're like, oh well, let's put some, I just wanted it to look real, so there's chewing gum under one of them. One of them's just got like rocks, but the other one's got like a ketchup sachet that squidges. And we pushed at the beginning for get like balloon gas, those things that you get high off. What they call balloon canister things. Yeah, like some of them around. You can see them everywhere in London now, don't you? They didn't want that in there, of course.
So it was a step too far for them.
Yeah, it was a bit too much.
Yeah. So let's move on to what's it like working with Bryan Cranston?
Amazing. Yeah.
He's like, quite the actor, isn't he?
Yeah, he was so nice and incredible to work with. Total privilege. And a super pro. Yeah, and very funny. Yeah. Because he would, every time, I'd be a bit nervous working with someone like that, and then he'd do a take, and I'd be like, oh, perfect. And he'd be like, oh, great. And he'd just get up and leave. I was like, oh, no, yeah, quick. Oh, you said it was perfect. You know, so it was this running joke. He just keep getting up and leaving. But yeah, he was wonderful.
Would you like to work with him on a long form?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, didn't Robert De Niro say it's one of the best actors of his time? Robert De Niro saw him in Breaking Bad and said, said that he thought that he was the best actor of his time, which is high praise coming from Robert De Niro. So I was going to ask you about director's cuts, and there's times when you feel that you need to do you try and get it?
There's the way I view it is there is no director's cut, there is a client cut. In the end, if the film, the director's cut is the film, that's what that was the journey we were going towards. And then you end up with a client cut. If that film doesn't end up coming out, the alternative is a client cut, and there's no problem with that as well, right? Because when you're bringing on artists to create a commercial, they initially sign up for the creative, interesting thing. It would be disingenuous to say that all of these creative people are preoccupied with the furthering of the corporation that they're working with. They're not. They're there because it's like they've got a creative interest in the set design, or the deeper interest in like the look of the thing, or everyone's on board for this like film, which is initially creatively interesting, and the symbiotic relationship is that you've fallen in love with this film vision that you've come up with your crew for this client, and everyone's into it, and that's what you're driving towards. You're driving towards this thing that's in the distance, that's at the top of the mountain, and you're going on this journey towards it, and that's the thing that you're going towards. Now, along the way, you might push things too far and they get cut, and you get pushed back onto the path. But there's also the possibility that you end up getting pulled away from that entirely on the way. And that can happen during the process, and then scenes get cut, things get pulled down or whatever. That can happen. The ideal is that you can go all the way there, and then in the edit, they take it somewhere down else. Another path. And that's all good, because the client gets the fruits of the labor, and they'll pluck the ones that they want from that and put it into their thing and put it out in the world. And the filmmakers will have the reason the client has gotten that 30-second thing that's a powerful bit of advertising for what they need is because of allowing and protecting the filmmaking and the creatives at the agency to go on the journey towards the intended one at the beginning. Sometimes that thing ends up as the official, often, or sometimes that a client cut's made, and that ends up as a director's cut. Yeah,
so equally valid whether you get there as a group together at the end at the destination, or whether some of the elements are used.
Yeah, like I never, if the official version comes out and it's not, it's 30% of what it was intended to be, it's fine,
But you'd still like to do a director's cut in that case sometimes, or
of course. I will always do. I will always finish the film in the way that
you intended.
I intended. I have like it's a sickness or something. I can't not do it. I've even done it for clients which don't allow it. I will still finish the cut because I can't not do it. The idea of not finishing it in the way it was meant to be.
There's no closure for you then.
I can't not do it. I've redone VFX that hasn't been on point. I've put my own money in to like get the post done right, or there's a big job I did where the sound was really atrocious. It wasn't with the usual people I use, so we spent the money to get the sound on properly. So there's like the official version is literally just the different sound mix. So yeah, that's something that I always try and do. There's
So I remember on that point, I remember I heard you say that I'm not just weird for the sake of being weird. There's always a point of truth that I'm moving towards. So when you first read a script or have an idea that comes into your head, how is that your kind of North Star? How does that develop, and how do you stay on that truth journey? Do you know what I mean? Is there kind of like, do you have ways of sort of checking in with yourself to know when something's in that correct direction, like when it's a true note or not, with performance, with everything, with all of your decisions that you have to make? Is there?
No, I think it's just like a sense of going towards the thing. It's a really bad way of explaining it. I don't know how to. I think it's when you're making creative decisions and you're unsure about what decision to make, that's where you try and go back to the source of the kernel idea of it. Like, is it coming from that, or am I just adding stuff because I'm adding it? Like, does it feed into the thing? What's it Yeah.
And is that kernel of the idea, the actual idea that's written on the script, or is it the thing that excited you about it as a director?
No, I think you've got the script that comes in that will be a great script and a great idea. Then as a director, you're finding the kernel of the vision of it, not the idea. You're then looking for you're building and finding the soul of that project, be it a music video or a commercial. Sometimes in a commercial you can't. It really is just, well, I've just got to make this interesting and flow. Sometimes you get a commercial where you're really, like say the Diamond Producers Association film I did, that one's was really treated like a film. And with that, you're really looking for when you're making creative decisions, you're going back to the soul of the inexplicable thing.
How, could you just describe the soul of that for you?
It's so... There's I don't know how to describe it.
Because to me, it felt like there's a spiritual aspect, there's a mystical aspect to that, sort of transcendental kind of feeling.
With that one, there's a sort of indifference of the power of the diamond related to the indifference of the universe and time.
Right, interesting.
As we move through these different love stories, and we jump from one age to the next when the people you've just watched are long gone, and the diamond remains throughout. And it was trying to, this diamond being a sort of an indifferent, you don't want to be too indifferent, you want it to have a soul as well. I don't know if I'm really explaining this very well. I guess my point is that with every project you end up with a feeling that you can't describe. You try to find a feeling or a sense of the project. It's not really so much a describable thing. You just have a feeling, and that's the thing that you check in on as you're moving towards, you're going forward to the completion or the shooting or the edit.
So going on to a little bit about your personal sort of habits around sort of taking in inspiration. So when you get an idea, like for example, are you a gamer? How do you spend your time?
No.
You say you watch
films.
Wish
I was. I don't know.
Because that's interesting to me, because there is definitely an aesthetic in your commercials that suggests that you might be, because there's definitely a kind of it's a very...
I've got a PlayStation, but I played it a bit, but I just never... I like the idea of getting back and just playing some video games for a bit, but I just never... I think I found the right game or something. I don't know.
So what do you do to find? You watch movies. Do you reference movies a lot? Do you kind of?
No, not really. I wouldn't say I reference films. I watch films. I watch a lot of films, but I don't have I don't sort of
You don't watch specific films for
references or anything like that. I don't have a folder of images or something.
So what could you talk us through the process of, you get a script? And what do you have do you go on a run, or is there a sort of way that you kind of digest the information and sort of
rattles around in the brain, I think. So I've got a thing in now, and the idea is brilliant, and they've already got a brilliant idea, and then it's just been coincidentally then I had this idea that comes from Seinfeld, the uncle that always grabs his arm and holds on to him. And that ended up, there's a shot that's ended up in that, but a horror version of it, of an arm getting grabbed, and it's quite violent, and then it's just the annoying uncle that just holds you while he talks. I don't know, it's just a tiny example was that come from Seinfeld being in my head. But generally it's just the script will come in, and then I'm just thinking about it, and it's just playing out. I'm very visual. I can see it. I'm sort of playing it out visually in my head, or I'll start to feel see the characters a bit more or something.
So let's just go back to the point where you say you're very visual. So images pop into your head when you see, because I remember hearing you talk about when you listen to music, images come, the trees growing out the eyes, for example. That came into your into your conscious, sort of from your subconscious, kind of bubbled up.
Yeah, I'm a bit, I'll sort of daydream a lot generally, and with music video, I'll listen to the music and allow myself to try and see the video play out in my mind. And
is that like a kind of meditative process when you say daydreaming? Is it just sort of just emptying your mind and then stuff comes to you?
I mean, not really. I mean, in the case of like the Now video, the idea came when I was in this bar. I was on my own in a bar in Japan. Yeah, and I put the music. They were people plugging their phone in. I was like, I plugged it in. I could, imagine this like flowers thing. Yeah, so it's not really. I don't sort of have a preparation thing or anything. It's just. But I love walking around, and if it's a music video, walking around listening to the music is really.
And you work a lot in cafes as well, right?
I can only, almost exclusively. Yeah, I can't. I'm not great working at home.
It's like witnessing the
I need to be like around stuff.
Yeah. It's like I always find that for me, some of my best daydreaming is outside a train window. I find that journey for me is I'm always just activated.
Trains are
just
amazing.
Constantly passing landscapes. Somehow it's like a flow. Like you're talking about a flow of life. It's sort of frees up the imagination in a way that's
totally.
find really useful.
So and you're quite kind of isolated in a train in a nice way. Yeah,
I remember. Do you ever remember that ad? I think it might have been a Tony Kaye ad when it's taking an aeroplane and making the aeroplane the perfect journey. And it's like, well, imagine if the windows were bigger, and imagine if the seats were like slightly bigger, and imagine if you've had something to look at, and then it ends up being the train journey.
Brilliant! I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's really clever. I thought, because the train is, I think, a way more human experience, isn't it? Of traveling through landscape rather than being on an aeroplane. So next one, James Messiah, Natural Born Killers. So you've been doing commercials for a while at this point, and then you jump back to a music video. How was that?
Really needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was been a while, and that was still one of the most special projects ever. I think it's like emotionally special. Yeah.
Was that because of the people you're working with, or
just the way it all came together, the people involved. It's like
where were you shooting?
Is in Argentina. It was my good mate of mine called John Rust. Yeah, who I'd known since I lived in London after university for ages, and like it was his label and the artist James, and is amazing, and the track, and I was in a position I could like produce it, so it was a good one.
And this was it in Buenos Aires?
Buenos Aires. So we needed sunlight because of the concept. I can't remember what time of the year we shot, but that's where it was the best place. And I just joined Landia as well, and they wanted to support the project, and
and that post sequence, the melting
time-based arts.
I was going to say that was time-based arts, was it? Yeah. Did you dig a hole for
that? So what we did was we had a platform, like a crate kind of thing, and we had him underneath.
So you had him raised up on a platform.
Yeah. So and then the face element was put onto the floor, but he was lying down, and we created a hole with his face, and shot his face and him, and lying down, but with this crate thing to kind of,
and just matching all the
there
camera.
There was a push for in-camera elements, and that we luckily that we didn't have to in the end, but
that's always a discussion you have with time-based arts, is how much is going to be in camera. Is it like a
especially
negotiation
when you haven't
with
got
them?
any money, like on that video,
right?
They invested in that heavily,
And is there certain operators at time-based arts that you sort of?
They've got, what's incredible about them is the amount of the talent they got there is insane. They're all incredible VFX minds that work there. So I guess the special thing about it for you is that they sort of trained you in special effects by you collaborating with them for so long. So now you have a kind of an overview they just help me get up to understand like processes of how So it means now when I bid a job, I can be a bit surgical with knowing how to approach, or I'll have an initial idea of how to approach the VFX, you know. But just now we just pitched a job. I've pitched a job with them, and I thought I knew how I would approach the VFX, and then I talked to them, and they're like completely. Their approach is it feels so obvious, but no one had thought of it.
Right.
And it's it's completely reduces the vast amounts of posts I thought we were going to have to do. I can't mention exact detail, but you know, yeah.
So there's a lot of kind of creativity that goes into that early.
That's why, you know, you have to like.
It's like problem solving.
Having them on early, whoever it is. I've had incredible VFX experience. You know, Oculus was the mill. You know, with Dan Williams and Droy. You know, amazing. Like, and the way that they solved certain stuff, and you know, I've had also Black Kite with Adam there and his team, like on Squarespace, and love working with them as well. And I mean, there's VFX, like, you know, we'd be dead without them. There are a lot of amazing teams out there. But yeah.
Okay, let's look at the next one on the list. Okay, so the Beardy Man. So that's one's got a lot of love, isn't it?
Electric Theatre Collective.
Oh, that's one. The other post house as well. Yeah,
and I've worked with them since.
Did they do Beardy Man?
And they did the impossible, insane, should have been impossible delivery of Apple Watch. The first Apple Watch I did, that was them. Like, incredible team again, and I don't know how they did it. And then Beardy Man, they did that one. Yeah.
So can you talk us through a little bit how the idea came to you with Beardy Man?
Yeah, so the Beardy Man idea, I'd had this idea of a cocaine Pinocchio. I was like, why hasn't this been done? You know, the Pinocchio story revolving around him also doing coke, and I was like, you know, you wouldn't want to share, if you take cocaine, one wouldn't want to share their cocaine with Pinocchio because his nose is bigger than everyone else's. So there was this like, yeah, so that was an idea. Like, I was sort of trying to, was in my mind. Oh, and also, sorry, there was the Pinocchio cocaine thing. Then I'd already pitched a job where it had a politician's nose growing, and it was super dark, and it was like, and it was based on like lying and this nose growing, and then there was a sex scene as well where the person wanted him to lie, to extend the nose for those reasons. It was like, it was super fucked up, and like, and then it ended up with the guy like rapping like, and this was the pitched idea that didn't happen yet, and then it ended up with like the guy rapping his face with like gaffer tape, and then looking in the mirror and like lying to then create a pressure point with his nose, right? And then the nose like just then went the other way and went blasted into his head and caved his face in. Yeah. And that's how the video ended up, with his like inverted Pinocchio nose, caved in face, and it was like this, you could see through to like a sort of a cosmos or something like that. It was, so I had these ideas rattling around, and then the Beardy Man video came. I was like, okay, this, you have to lean into the lyrics. This is like about drug use and everything. And I just thought it'd be great to do something around coke, which is just really disgusting. It is really a disgusting drug. Disgusting drug. And so, yeah, and that's how it started. I was like, okay, it's this. And then this guy, and I was like, I want to try and capture that like horrible 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning thing that my London years had witnessed, like just horribleness of like people getting weird at the ends of parties and like that kind of stuff.
I loved the fact the curtains were closed and the piercing light was coming from the side of the curtain rather than through the middle. I just really liked that. With that, and who was that? A production designer you worked with before?
That was Robin Brown.
Oh right, yeah.
And we would, I think we
and Malro, was it?
Piggybacked it. Yeah, we did. So, and Malro, we had another job. We had a commercial, and we got to Kiev 2 days pre-pro, shot it on the third day of arrival, changed the whole ending, like the cocaine devil. Cocaine devil guy was added whilst I was looking around the location. It was wild. Yeah, it was. And then, the killer A-team, we managed to make that. And then we went straight onto the commercial. Because that's piggybacking. That's the first time I piggybacked something before an ad.
It's usually after, isn't it?
After, because you can run onto it. That was quite good actually, because then you eat your veg. You sort of go through the torture first, and then you're on the luxurious commercial.
Right. Yeah.
Comparatively luxurious. So that idea came from it was like a mixture of other ideas actually, rather than
So the Apple This tells time. So a couple of camera moves I want to ask you about. So did you use the game is sitting on the sofa, and then you pull out and you do a rotate from the Apple Watch on a probe lens? Was that the Laura lens pulling back on that? Do you remember?
So on the Apple Watch commercial, we didn't use the Laura. We used lenses that you could have very high, very extreme close focus on, and we're right up to the lens. The issue with those is then there's the lighting issue.
The shadowing of the...
So that's where the probe is great, because you're not as affected at all, remotely as much. So that was a real difficulty that we kept finding. I think there's even some shots where you see a bit of shadow.
So that's because it was a darker environment and the watch was emitting light. You kind of got a way of having the lens close, because you weren't relying on ambient light to light the face of the watch. You were relying on the light emitting from the watch.
Well, then when it comes back, there has to be an adjust. But
so you managed to sort of shade it somehow so it kind of blends it when it comes back. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And the other shot that I'm sort of curious about is the woman in the girl in the subway. So it starts on one side of her. I think it's her hand with a watch goes through the subway entrance gates, and then the camera. Let me get this right. It starts on the ceiling of the subway. It doesn't even tilt down. It looks like it jibs down. Then goes over to her. She's coming through the turnstile, not turnstile, the gates for the subway. And then it goes from the ceiling, jibs down, goes over to her watch as she's moving through, and then it swoops around the front of her and ends on the other side of her. And then it goes from there to there's a cut, I think, then you go to another character in there.
You know who it cuts past is the guy. So my great friend Jack Morris, amazing actor. He's the guy in Beardy Man video.
Oh right.
And I put him in. He's been in the Apple arcade. He's the taxi driver in 3 Real 5G.
Yeah.
He's in a bunch of ads I've done, and that one I got him on that. And we joke about, oh, am I going to be, you only get your buyout if you're in the edit. And I said, well, there's no way that you're not going to be in this because you're in a one shot.
Right.
It'd be really brutal if they cut you out of a one shot.
Yeah.
And then they
cut him out. Oh dear.
So it wasn't meant to cut. It actually went past him.
Oh,
and then it went through the doors.
Yeah. Do you remember what rig that was though? Was that
that was Gimbal Ninja. So that is Florian on his gimbal.
So
system.
He was holding it up.
And we had a crane. He was on a platform, sorry.
Yeah.
And he's on the platform holding it.
So the jib's down with him on it.
Yeah, he's on it, and then he steps off.
And then he goes and he just runs around. Yeah, all done on a sort of... Yeah. Okay, good. Well, thank you for that. I was trying to work. I thought it might be a trinity because it can come out from high to low, but no. So now the next one I want to talk about is... So you work with Alwyn Kutcher on this one, the State Farm on the board.
Yes.
How's it working with Alwyn?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
It was absolutely hilarious. I was like
crying. He's a funny
yeah,
guy.
it's like various times I was crying.
Yeah.
From laughter.
I didn't realize how funny he was because I listened to a podcast of him recently and I thought, oh my God, this guy's really witty.
I mean,
yeah,
he could write. I mean, we were riffing and coming up with this like the most absurd and I think quite hilarious. I can't remember what it. I still remember it now. It's like this like. Anyway, this we was riffing and like he was just yeah.
He breaks that whole
laugh.
kind of that sort of Germans don't understand comedy or have a sense of humor. He breaks that whole cliche.
There's a lot of funny Germans.
He's so funny, that guy.
And when they're funny, they're very
even funnier. Because he was saying that when he came to London, he goes, the thing he loves about London, when people tell a joke, they don't announce it. They just tell a joke. And he goes, in Germany, when you tell a joke, you announce you're going to tell a joke, which just destroys the joke. So the jokes in Germany are never funny because they're always announced. And I thought that's a good point. In England, we just go into it straight away, don't we?
Well, yeah, he was a joy to work with. It was amazing. And that State Farm was like, I couldn't put up the final version because I had a DC because they cut some scenes, but I think that's got the most inventive transitions I've probably done. Well, interestingly, like
if you see my little list
really
here,
pushed it.
It's talking about these transitions. I mean, from the brown sugar to the sand, the giant over the building to the litter pickup, throat of the girl singer to up a drain. I mean, where did you come up with that?
It was just ridiculous.
And then the fun run to the shaven head. I mean, they're so like
that one we just pushed really far and they were great. The client loved it. And there's stuff that didn't make. There's some transitions that didn't make it, I think. But I think my favorite was the lamppost one. That and then pulling out when he was
spiking
about to hit with the lamp. You know, there's a giant version of him, and then it goes but yeah, I don't think you've seen the DC. I don't think you would have seen the DC where it ends and they've got two Chinese children playing with the action figures of them. Oh no, I haven't seen that. Yeah, so that was in the original. You then ended up with the on the board thing went so crazy that there's then action figures of them, and you cut to these two kids in China, and Alwyn was like, "Oh, lightning!" and he put like lightning in this fucking kid's bedroom, and they're like screaming at each other in Mandarin and like going like, on the board, but in like Mandarin, and like you're seeing these like
that reminds me.
And then I had Alwyn was like standing on the bed like these two kids like handheld with this camera. It was really funny. It didn't make the cut.
That it's like kind of Andy Kaufman type writing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's got that kind of quality to it where it's just goes, references itself and then gets even more, so it goes down another rabbit hole sort of thing. Yeah, no, I didn't see that cut. It's a real shame. The ending of it was a guy asking for a coffee and getting it, and then got his number 10 or something from. Oh right, yeah. Yeah. So, how about the old sweet licking the sweet at the beginning? Was that? Idea?
That was just riffing. That was where the nice thing when you do a comedy, kind of a comedy bit thing like that, you can then shoot a take, and when the actors are funny and they all come up with stuff. I can't remember who came up with that. I think we just added it. Yeah.
I just thought it set the tone so brilliantly at the beginning. It's just a kind of quirky absurdity of it. Like I say, amazing transitions. And then we got the Diamond Producers Association that we've already spoken about. Is there anything you want to add to that experience of?
Well, it opened up Georgia to me.
Yeah, that was Morrow, was it?
That was Morrow,
yeah.
And event ended up like just in love with that country.
Yeah, I can see why.
I've just been there now. I was like,
it really is magical. That
really is.
I mean, it's got an atmosphere to it. It's hard to put into words. Place.
I hope to go back there more to shoot.
And, So the scene when there's the water and there's a shaft of sunlight coming into the water, that was an artificial light.
Real cave. Yeah. In the cave.
Yeah.
Real cave, and it's all lit. We were lighting wellies in this water cave, and Marrow's, I don't know what lights he used, little stuff, little lights. Small lights, they weren't big lights. No, it's all stuff that you could bring into this cave.
Oh really? Yeah. Wow, that's clever.
I think Don't quote me.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, the result was so magical. It's he really.
I might
really
be completely wrong, and there were massive lights in there. I don't remember it.
It would appear to me that it would be a bigger light further away, but if you'd done it with a small light, like even props to him.
There might have been. So,
Skittles. I mean, that's got your fingerprints all over it, has it not? Yogurt Boy.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
So was that another collaboration with the creative?
Again, that was really bizarre. So Skittles have got a long history of making really, really wacky crazy commercials. But and this one, it felt like they'd avoid talking about the agency were playing this game where they were sort of very, very amazingly well done. It's amazing how a creative team or agency producer, you're confused by why they're avoiding going over stuff and skipping over stuff, and they manage to get stuff through and protect the film in a way that you wouldn't be able to, because they know how the client operates.
Right.
And they were like we're talking about a kind of an abused, imprisoned yogurt creature who gets penetrated with what are they called? Tongs. Like, and we're like avoiding that all the time and talking about the color of the Skittle and like how much he loves them. And like it's fun, you know.
It's like not mentioning the elephant in the room. I don't know how this is going to
go. But yeah, that was.
Did you see any of their previous ads? There's one where this guy that everything he touches turns to Skittles. Have you seen that one?
Yeah,
I just thought that was brilliant.
Tom Kunst.
Yeah.
Masterpiece.
Yeah.
Of that. Yeah. That one was wonderful. That was like, and that was with Charlie Mayhew.
Yeah,
is the genius movement choreographer that I first worked with on Michelob.
Yeah.
So we got her, and then I wanted to find
Michelob the beer.
The animal one,
The animal one,
and that whole thing, I wanted to, like, how do we get this like interesting movement? And I thought, I have this Marie Gabriel Roti is this amazing Buto dancer who I had the luck of working with years and years ago. I worked with her on this short film called Dreamt in Flesh, and I got interested in Buto because of her. And then when we did the Skittles thing, I was like, oh, maybe we should, instead of looking for like movement people or dancers, we looked for Buto dancers.
So explain to me what Buto?
Buto is this like quite, I don't know how to describe it. It's a kind of very strange Japanese dance, which is very facial and like with facial expressions, and it's quite
sort of primal kind of.
Yeah. I don't know how to describe it. It's very bizarre. They often paint themselves fully in white, or so they're like, and they just have a tongue.
It's something that David Bowie might have been influenced by, I think, because I remember him getting into Japanese dance at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so we found this amazing Buto dance called Sveta.
Yeah.
And she worked with Charlie, and then they created the whole Yogurt Boy, like how that moves from the fridge. It was all done. It wasn't the VFX is done over the top, but
it's like
the whole personality and everything was her, like there doing everything. And
was that like a motion capture type
thing?
We
had some of it on there, but a lot of it with their building on the top. It wasn't quite as advanced with like ping pong balls or anything.
Yeah. And that was a set build, was it?
No, it's all that's a real house in Ukraine.
Wow. I was going to say there's a lot of Soviet. It's like the Blasphemy one. Is that Soviet?
That's in Ukraine as well.
Yeah.
So
you shot a lot in Ukraine then.
That's my second home.
Right.
I mean, I'm there more. I was there more than home.
Yeah.
I was 6 months last year. Year before that, over 6 months.
Right.
Yeah. So
so it must be quite shocking for you what's been happening.
It's horrific. It's like beyond words.
Yeah. That's watching your house burn down, your favourite pub burn down, as you know. I'm sorry to hear that. So Apple Arcade. So I like the blood. I don't know if you if that's a reference you were conscious of or not, but there's a Blood Simple transition. First Coen Brothers film, Blood Simple. And there's a transition where it moves down to, so it's the person goes to bed and you move with them into the bed. So it's
I think I'd have seen that elsewhere as well. Yeah. When we follow him on the sofa.
Yeah, on the sofa. Yeah. Is there anything else that's worth talking about production?
The hardest was the opening shot. That was like, we'll just be on a drone and then we'll just go into a moving car, and you're like writing it. Yeah. It's like, yeah, great. Storyboard it.
Yeah.
And then you go into pre-production, and I was like, how are we doing this? So it's, you've got a drone flying towards a moving car, and it goes through the window and ends up on a close. That was the most challenging of all of the shots.
So the drone actually flew through the window? No. I was going to say.
So then what we were doing, we would have the drone plate, and the time of day had to be right. So we got the drone plate coming as close as possible to the car, and then it would stop. We got a plate where it would, without a car, and it goes all the way through.
Yeah.
Then we had a Trinity rig.
Yeah.
To poke following, to go through,
to meet it, and then to poke through the window. Yeah. And then the post use all the elements.
And they put it all together.
To put it all together. Yeah.
Did that.
So it's like the best post work is always the composite work, isn't it? It
makes the shot look just like it was real.
If you give them all the elements and they put it together in the best way to make it feel real. Yeah. That reminds me a little bit of I think it might be a Squarespace. It's a beginnings. It's a woman sitting at a desk with a computer open, and the camera comes up and around, and then goes through a kind of portal. Yeah. So is that a Ukrainian location again, or
that's Georgia?
That's Georgia, is it?
Yeah.
Right.
All shot in Georgia.
And that opening shot, was that because it looked really stable to me, like it's some kind of jib arm or something.
That's no, that was again Florian.
Really?
On the Movi, yeah.
Wow, because that was so solid coming into that. It just looked so perfect to me. It looked like some kind of jib arm with a hot head on it.
No, I mean that's Florian. He's amazing. Gimbal Ninja.
Yeah, Gimbal Ninja. Yeah.
Yeah, because you couldn't do it. Steadicam's too big to get up close.
Well, to get that turn. The turn was so quick, wasn't it?
It's like, you can't do it. Yeah. And then we removed the table. Yeah. Just that she's there. She has a reference for where she should be with her arms and stuff. Yeah. And then we're going towards. Yeah. And there is a laptop there.
Yeah.
So we do a plate going towards.
Yeah.
And trying as much as you can to do the move, and one that goes all the way through.
And then you take
the table out, and then we do it again
with the move.
And with the move, and we pick it up just on that bit. And
that's really, really interesting. And one thing, was that the time of day with the light coming through the window, or was that actually a film light? Do you remember? Because that light looked very much like sunlight to me, but it was the perfect position.
I can't remember.
So because I was going to say,
kill me if you get that.
Because I think, it looked like it was lit, but then the shadows are so parallel and so clean.
I can't. The amount of time it took to do the plates and stuff, I can't imagine we did.
No, you must have been a film light then. So he must have had a big old film light quite far away to get those shadows to look good.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
but maybe not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What job was that, by the way? Because
Squarespace launch it. No, sorry. Squarespace everything. Squarespace everything or something.
Squarespace everything. Free real 5G. This is you co-wrote that, did you?
No, that was you end up adding and fleshing out and writing with the creatives, but they wrote a really the whole concept was theirs, future England, like leaning into British stuff, kind of London things, but in a wacky future. And that was really all UK, England winning the World Cup, and actually they're all robots. We love that. And
how much do you develop the ideas of the creatives? So they come up with the initial script.
And then they've got a script, and then you write it with them, and we really worked the script a lot. It's a very, very collaborative. Yeah.
Is there any standout scenes in that you're particularly pleased with?
I think my favourite's probably the smellogram. Taking a picture of the food and then being able to we transitioned. That was my favourite bit, I think.
Yeah. And I like the fingers going into the ears as well.
That's good.
Yeah, it seemed like you had a lot of fun on that. And
that was a lot of fun in Kiev again.
Yeah, that's shot in Kiev.
Yeah,
again, because there's quite a lot of flat light there. That it had a kind of very English kind of quality to it.
Yeah.
How many days on location was that?
That was a 6-day shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that was time-based.
A lot of that. Too many hours. A lot of hours. I don't like to try not to do that more. We had to shoot. I think the last day was 20 hours.
Yeah. See, that happens. Good. That can happen in Eastern Europe. I've had shoots like that before.
Yeah, and it wasn't like it was. There was just so much we didn't calculate it well. The last day went over a lot.
Yeah.
It was a tough shoot the last day, but a good one.
And still always radioactive when you shoot. Yeah. Do you try and stick to the same production designers when you go abroad and shoot?
Not. I work a lot with the ones I've worked with are like Robin Brown, it's like amazing. Marusha in Spain, Ollie Williams.
Oh, yeah, I know Ollie. Yeah.
Mark Connell.
Yeah.
You know, in the US, Keto Cooksey. I love. I'm probably. Yeah.
Do you have a favourite destination to shoot in? Oh, you said at the moment it's Georgia.
I mean, Ukraine was the place.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as it's possible to go back there, I just want to go back. I'd miss it like crazy. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how that, when that will happen, but I love Georgia a lot. You can't shoot anything there. Spain, I love shooting in Spain.
Did you shoot at Palmer Pictures at all?
I haven't worked with them, no. But Spain's, I love shooting there because there's an excitement of shooting there. Yeah. And it's the same way you have in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Whereas if you shoot in, I don't know, sometimes there's some places you shoot and you feel like everyone's just, there to do the job and it's all good, but don't have that
that buzz.
What we're doing.
Yeah, it's nice. I would imagine, certainly from a director's point of view, you want to feel that everyone's kind of like excited to be there.
Yeah, it's not like, I require everyone to feel really excited by this. It's just interesting from place to place, what the vibe is with people. Generally. Some of them are much quieter and they're doing their thing, and other places it's like you can feel this sort of like, holy shit, we're on set.
Yeah. And then if ideas come up, like additional ideas come up, everyone's up for making it the best thing.
Yeah, if you're suddenly going to change everything. Yeah, the reaction to that is different places.
Samsung Galaxy Note 20. So when I was speaking to James about this, we were wondering whether that opening phone shot was a real phone or whether it was somehow VFX, CG, 3D. It's like, do you remember? The stylus comes out at the beginning.
Yeah, so it's a mixture. You've got some post for the pen dropping was like bulk camera and phantom. Yeah. And
it's like lots of passes of different lighting and stuff to get all the reflections right on the phone. The pen.
Yeah. That was remote as well. Me and Mauro were in Kiev.
Yeah. So Mauro lit that remotely.
Yeah. And we had this amazing team in Korea, and it was all remote because of COVID and travel and stuff.
What's the time difference between Kiev and Korea?
I can't remember. It wasn't fun.
Was it like night shoots or something?
Yeah, it wasn't fun.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah.
So Squarespace launched it. There's a lot of outer space that kind of comes into your work, and I remember hearing you talk about 2001 being one of your favourite films. What age were you when you saw 2001?
I was like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
When I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. So quite an impressionable age to see such a profound film.
Had a huge effect for sure, because I didn't know what I was watching.
Yeah.
I thought it was a documentary.
But the thing is, as an adult, you still don't really know what you're watching. It's that profound, isn't it?
It's one of the
greatest
works of art ever made.
That must be seared into your subconscious. That film.
Yeah. For sure.
Do you rewatch it? Do you revisit it?
Yeah, I've rewatched it. I've got to be able to rewatch it in the cinema, when it's been in the cinema.
Did you go to the exhibition, the Kubrick exhibition?
No, I didn't catch that, but I saw the film in a in the BFI they had a screening of it.
Because what struck me about the exhibitions, they had a whole room dedicated to 2001, and there's so much kind of technology that was. You think about when it was made, it was like they had a, it's like having a sort of future.
Well, they did all the VFX in a black tent, so no one could see. Top secret.
Oh,
wasn't it?
In 2001.
Yeah, didn't they have? It was pretty locked down, like how they achieved stuff. I think.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine Kubrick doing that.
Yeah.
I can't remember to see a reference of that in an exhibition, but you saw the original suits, and you had a few Howls actually. But even now, a lot of these films, they don't stand up to the test of time, but that really does, in my opinion. It's sort of the profundity of the end as well, going through that sort of time warp kind of to a parallel dimension, and the aging and the child and all of that kind of that circular aspect of it. I find it kind of deeply mystical, and but it has like a piercing truth to me that I believe it's teaching us about something beyond human. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's the power of film, and I think there's almost remembering the magic of life or spirit or whatever.
It's almost like smoking DMT or something.
Film you can you can bring experience. There is the potential to bring experiences with film which might otherwise be only in land of dream or hallucinogenics. Or it's like a portal, isn't it, to a parallel thing. So I see it's the ear speak and the Russian dolls in space. The Russian dolls passing in space, I thought was really wonderful, kind of like tongue-in-cheek, kind of, the docking of the spaceships in 2001 and the Russian dolls coming apart. So was that a conscious kind of... we had, the cardboard box. I think it was a cardboard box, right, as well. You've got the shot through a cardboard box, which is kind of like, you'd see it in the satellite, in the spaceship shots that you've seen in the past,
You had the van opening up and all the cardboard boxes flying off.
No, am I remembering it wrong? There's a shot inside of a box, looking out of the box. Is it?
Right, I can't remember, but I'm
Maybe
sure you're right.
Wrong.
Yeah. But I just remember the end sequence of the dolls passing.
Yeah.
So the Jack Daniels, one thing I wanted to talk to you about was, we spoke earlier about Melrose Lighting and how much he brings to your projects. With the Jack Daniels, you had this sort of amber and teal kind of look. And I noticed that with that, the way you achieved that was through having some lights actually in shot. So you had obviously you had the bar lights along the bar that had the amber, the teal. And then you had a sequence with a man jumping into like a big lorry, at the petrol station, running out. And then in the background, you had a teal strip along the wall. And then you had a sequence of the guy scratching on a really high-end turntable in a party. And again, that you had a teal strip on the wall. And that kind of created the kind of brand's look and the kind of... And I was wondering, is that something you decided early on with Mauro and the art department? Is that something that...
I mean, that's... I don't know. There wasn't a conscious decision to do that in the run-up to the project. I think it's going to the locations and it's Mauro and the production designer
just working out how they can get the brand colours to work.
I mean, I'm not having conversations about lights in shot ever really. Yeah, I'm just looking at the image.
Yeah.
So that will be Mauro.
That'll be Mauro's touch there.
Yeah, his master plan.
Xbox US Dreamers. So this one was an opportunity to really work. Time-based arts, was it? Or
no, that was MPC.
MPC, because that was majority CG, was it?
There's just the opening shot, which is made up of a drone shot in Ukraine.
Right,
so again, this was in the period when I was in the Kiev and pandemic insanity.
Yeah.
And we shot the drone shot in Kiev.
Yeah.
Going towards the apartment block.
Yeah.
It then transitions to a studio set in LA.
Yeah.
Also remote.
Yeah.
So me and Mara are remote doing the drone shot.
Yeah.
Then me and him are together remote directing and doing the LA shot.
So you're remote
with Daniel Kaluuya on a set in LA.
Yeah.
Which then became crane with a pan.
Yeah. That was a crane in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it cuts to inside the apartment, we're then transitioning to being.
What's a crane going through the window of the set?
There's no window.
So it's just crane going into the set because you had your plate of the drone flying into the building.
Yeah, you've got the drone of the plate going right up to the window.
Right. Yeah.
And then then it's CG,
like
transition
take over. Yeah.
And then it's Technocrane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, going in and then round, is it?
Yeah.
And then it does a transition to him in the air.
Yeah, and then it's VFX.
And that's a VFX transition. And what's that? Fans? How do you get that?
Well, it's all VFX.
That's all VFX.
Yeah, when it transitions to him in that world, that's then full CGI.
That's full CGI all over.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I thought
what we did is then we recorded. He went into we did 1 day motion capture in a studio, and he's reading through the script, and we're talking over certain scenes, and he's doing different reactions for different moments, and then they record all of it. But a lot of it's animated.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So Oculus, we spoke about. There's a great BTS on that of getting twins to have both arms.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about the process?
Yeah, so Oculus came and it was like, okay, so this is a point of view thing. And I was like, how do we push point of view? And I didn't want to push point of view for the sake of pushing it. I was just looking at what had been done. And I just thought, well, I'm trying to mimic, firstly, virtual reality, which when you move around, you're completely, you're not moving around like that in virtual reality. It's kind of, you're on lines. Yeah. And you're kind of like, your head is moving, but your joystick is moving you. So I was thinking about that. And then I also just thought, well, even when I walk around, my vision isn't bumpy. My eyes are the most advanced gimbal in the world, that exists is your eyes. So
smooth,
you move around, but your eyes maintain their focus. Yeah. And so I thought, well, I don't want to put a camera on someone's head and they move around because then it's going to be bumpy. It doesn't make sense. So how do I get dolly level movement, but point of view and feel the point of view experience? And I was like, well, I can't do a dolly and have arms. And I'm like, wait, all I'm looking at is I'm just looking at 2 arms for the most part. I'm rarely looking down at a body. So I thought I'd just get twins. And I thought I was like, this is too easy of the solution. So then we went. Carmel is a casting director I worked with for a long time. So she started looking for twins who were not only twins but were dancers. So they had blocking, timing ability. And then we just did castings with twins. And what we did was have one of them hold the camera like that and be the left arm, and the other one would be the right arm next to them. And what I got them to do was just I was like, well, just open a bag. And you don't think about it when you open a bag. You lift it up and you open the zip and you take something out. Yeah. It's highly complicated. You're lifting up. You need to apply a pressure contrary to the zip to open it. Yeah. And then to pull the thing out, you'd switch to the other hand, or
it's like teaching a robot how to shake a hand or something.
So we did the casting, and very quickly there was people totally incapable of making it not look like this person had just been born as an adult, and then our chosen protagonists were like the J twins. Yeah, killed it. I mean, they just like boom, boom.
Yeah, just totally synchronized.
Beautiful, amazing.
Yeah.
So and then we realized, oh shit, this is gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you
And then it's Florian again.
Right.
So it's all gimbal ninja.
Yeah.
And he's on a Movi, and
Yeah.
they're next to him.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
I think there's one. It might be a crane or a dolly, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Charlie Mayhew again, movement choreographer, working
So
very closely with Florian and the J Twins together.
Yeah.
To make it all work.
So would you bring Florian early to work out what you need a crane for and what you can get away with on a gimbal? Or?
We've got a pretty good steer of it.
Yeah.
Now, especially, you know, like at the beginning, I wanted as much on the dolly as possible.
Yeah.
And then we were working through it, and we're like, oh, this is all Florian.
Yeah, because he's so good, isn't he? I mean, he looks.
And
look
he's
like
amazing,
yeah.
and you're much more limited on a dolly. You know,
yeah.
You can
yeah. That's the thing that surprises me, that I thought a lot of the shots that were actually gimbal were on a dolly because they're so stable, and to hear that they're on a gimbal is that kind of quite shocking, actually. Okay, so last page, finally. Gone through quite a body of work here. So the Apple Watch future of workout. So that's a swimming pool. It's a girl coming up. So was it a swimming pool and a water tank, or was it just a swimming pool?
Just a tank. It's not a real swimming pool.
Oh, so you put
VFX.
VFX put the basis. You're right. Okay.
Yeah, and that was the mill.
That was the mill. Yeah. And what tank were you using?
Bulgaria.
Oh, Bulgaria.
And that was remote as well.
In Kiev, was it? I mean, sorry.
Me and Mara were in Kiev, and that was shot in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
And then, because I then thought anyway, like, well, you don't even really need to go to where the tank is, because you're never going to be on. You're not on set with this person underwater.
Yeah.
You're still talking to them through.
It's remote. It's remote anyway, right? So yeah. And the fish. Did you do plates of fish?
No.
That's all CG. Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. And the shot when she breaks through the water, was there any transition in that, or was that just literally her?
That's just, we lit for outdoor.
Yeah.
Above the tank. And just shoot that, and then
just shot it, and post
the sea.
Right. Post it, extended it.
Yeah. So the image, it might be, you just only need her head and a bit more out of it, and then it's
just all extended in post.
Effects,
Gentleman Jack. I just like the way some of the tropes you use, like the extreme slow motion of the king falling, and the probe track of the move. I like the way you kind of integrate those kind of very kind of visceral moments of using those macro stuff and the slow motion, but at the right point for the emotion. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's telling the story, and it's doing it in it's like you use all of these techniques in quite a non-gratuitous way. They always forward the story, but it's done in quite a visually exciting way.
Yeah, I love chess. I'm not great at it, but I love it, and wanted to shoot. I was like excited about that one to shoot like chess, but
to make chess.
But it's gratuitous. What's gratuitous is the king shot, because you never topple. You topple your king if you're what's the word?
Retiring.
Retiring.
Yeah.
You're saying okay. If you don't play the game out, but
but I think it works really well visually. Yeah. I think people forgive you for that.
Yeah,
actually.
That's good.
And then just on to the so I love this one. I think this is a really great kind of one to end on, or maybe we'll go to Disney as well, but the your mum's short ribs.
Oh yeah, that's Kiev as well.
Yeah, I mean that's just seeing everything come together in terms of the way you move the camera. So I've got some notes here. I love the pan reveal when you go. It's just, it's like normally most directors would just shoot the woman, the girl, like the girl working in the takeaway or the restaurant, but you do a little move into her and then get her to do, a kind of expression, kind of.
That was Nini.
That's just worked so well for me.
She's the queen in Diamonds. Georgian actress.
Well, I recognise her before.
There's a few Georgian actors in that film.
Yeah,
that one was. I knew I wanted to push, but I thought, I should like roll her eyes or something, and then she just played around, and then she did this like horse neigh thing, and it worked well.
Yeah, it worked really well.
Yeah.
And I like the sort of pan reveal. So you do that quite a bit where you do like little pan up and it reveals something else. One that I didn't mention earlier that I really love is the job where everyone's throwing up their
the Jack Daniels milestones.
Yeah, and then it cuts to the photographer, and then you go from the photographer and you do a whip up to a time lapse shot of the building going from day to night
with the sound of the pool scene.
To get you to the pool scene. I mean, who would imagine that transition? That's going. I know what we'll do. We'll do a whip pan up to another building, and that can be the next.
I mean, I was really I wanted that tuning up with the hats. Photographer, they land, and then I wanted the sound of the pool breaking,
the break,
as you hit the building, the thing, and that was all designed before I'd written it, and then I thought I'm never going to find the location, to find one that works for the hats going up, that would need a building that's close enough for you to go beyond the photographer and then reveal a building. I thought we almost killed it, and right at the last minute we kept it in when that location.
And that was done in camera. Did you just tilt?
Yeah, we tilt and then just lock the camera.
Lock the camera and wait for night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful, man. It's so perfect. So Short Ribs. I mean, it's just the visual development of that.
Amazing production design by Vova on that one, Ukrainian production designer.
Yeah. Anything else to talk about on that?
That was just a really fun. That one was quite interesting in an advertising perspective because the product was Instacart, but the client ended up as focused on your mum's short ribs as much as Instacart, and there was this kind of conversations happening where I was having to sort of you got to be careful. You don't want the restaurant that she has should be aspirational. And but to advertise Instacart positively, you need to have your mum's short ribs kind of get negative. So that was quite weird. It was like working for two brands. The focus on your mum's short ribs ended up quite high. And then, but that was a really special job, And then I was like, I don't think are we going to get away with this? Because in the UK, here we say, your mum, it's like a diss. Oh, fuck your mum or whatever, or your mum.
Yeah.
And then so I was like, let's have a number plate that just says your mum. And it just stayed, didn't it?
Yeah, no, it all
was
quite
funny.
Yeah.
It's a good job.
So look, we've got, I know everyone's standing around going, Christ, we run out of time. It says 0 there again.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to talk a little bit about Disney.
That was the first commercial we did under Prodco. Quite a special one. It was the last one we did.
Right. Okay. And was that the Ninja, the Gimbal Ninja again?
And that had Florian and
because that move in.
Charlie Mayhew did the choreography.
Right. Because that fight scene, I love the
Robin Brown production line. Yeah.
Because most directors just do a move in, but you do a move in and then a rotate round, which just gives it.
It goes from we're
when they start fighting.
We've done and we did it in from coming out from POV. We did it once before or twice. It's quite nice, but your POV with the kick, and then we pull out of POV. Wasn't quite as. I imagined it a bit better, but it worked.
Yeah, I was talking about the move when they first go into the guy before he kicks, I think, and then he rotates round so
it's meant to be your point of view of the guy, and then his leg comes up and kicks as if you're him. But that was the intention.
I see. But it still gives it energy though. And that's what I like about it, because it gives it kind of different energy than you were expecting. So it's a slight of hand and sort of a bit of a shock. And then there's obviously the impossible Fincher moves, like the moves through kind of down plug holes or down the mouse holes or whatever. Was that influence from Fincher? I
mean, Panic Room. And just camera. It's what I love about it is the sort of. You end up the amount of personality or character you can give the camera, but depending on what you do with it.
And how do you go about those for post? What requirements do they have?
Just plate passes.
Just plates,
you do as much far as you can, and with it, and then we even did a plate with a textured mouse hole thing that's just for that.
Yeah.
Then you're coming out.
Do you do any oversized builds of stuff to?
No, it wasn't an oversized build. I think we did a probe.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Great. Well, look, that sort of. I mean, we can talk about Mont Blanc a little bit if you like. If there's anything particular on that, so your latest piece of work.
Headache.
It was a headache.
Yeah, because of all the motion control, speed calculations.
Right.
But it all worked out. I was shocked we managed to do it in the time. We only had 2 days to shoot it.
Yeah.
So one day really with all the mocap.
And where was the location?
Barcelona.
It was in Barcelona, was it? Yeah. It's kind of like coming full circle as well, because the way it was lit with the individual lights on the stage from the distance was very similar to the first black and white piece you did with Narrow. I was thinking that's quite nice sort of.
True.
Yeah. So look, the last thing I'd like to talk about, if that's okay, is the future. Is there anything you can tell us about your film, your long form?
I've got 3 feature films. We wrote Hunter Andrews is the writer. Last year, we worked together on this film. Me and him would do the story. He writes. Cool. True horror. Felt it was a bit too ambitious for the first film, so then we wrote another one this year. It's another idea of his. We worked together, story together. He writes it. We worked on that, finished that. Then that one looks like it will go first. Hopefully, we're just working out.
Can you tell us anything about that?
Yes, a home invasion film.
Is it based on a true story, this one?
No.
That's the horror one was based on a true story.
The one we wrote last year, yeah. This one's, And that one is, we've got that developing, who knows how long it will take. And then there's also another idea I had when I was in Georgia based off an experience that happened to me. And that one's micro budget. So I'm going to see what plays out, but might try and just make that happen immediately with private money.
Well, it's good to have sort of 3 irons in the fire, isn't it? Yeah. And then, of course, you've got your Prodco production company.
Work.
And then you're going to still be working on commercials.
Yeah, we've also got an NFT platform.
Oh, wonderful.
That we've been working on for like over a year and a half, almost 2 years. That's we're looking at. It's just keeping an eye on how the technology is going. It's not we're totally avoiding all of the cringe elements of that space or the speculative elements of it. We're quite interested in the technology.
What platform would you build on?
It's in particular like project raising for short form due to the issue of short form filmmaking being completely you can't monetize it. There's no space for it really. So we're trying to build something that could allow for that to happen more. But really the dream is that you could then put together a music video project between a director and an artist and try to fund it via investor NFT sales.
It's very interesting. That's obviously a space that's going to really expand a lot with artists in the coming years. Ian, it's been an absolute joy and pleasure. I mean, it's been for me just the journey I've been on researching your work and now getting to talk to you has been such a learning curve for me, and I've been doing this for like 25 years, so cool. So it's, I can't thank you enough, man, for taking the time to come.
Thanks for all mine. It really means a lot to hear that, and like it's really nice to be able to have a conversation
and our audience are going to love the breakdowns as well, because they get to sit at home, watch your work and then see how it was done, which I think is so valuable for them.
Awesome.
I'd love to.
It's a pleasure, and thanks.
Yeah, you're entirely welcome, man. I'd love to have you, because we also do live events as well. And I mean, we'll see how your diary works, because you're clearly very busy. But if we did a live event, I'd love to have you along to do a show and tell as well to a live audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, man.
Sure.
Okay, well, it's been an
absolute
pleasure, man. Nice one. Cool.